most directly meta, and that's something I find so fascinating in this dynamic.
And this is also one of the best things about Overwatch. That even when we see the pro players, the Overwatch League, uh, style of meta coming through, that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone has to play it, and it just enables for a lot of variety for teams, especially here in the collegiate scene, where they're able to play whatever their comfort picks are and usually get away with it. And that's exactly why for this Tuesday you're seeing very different compositions, where ET Arlington is going to be on the Roadhog Wrecking Ball, creating a lot of space for his team, but Wichita's going to be on that Brawl style, more the standard we would expect here.
We'll see exactly how these two compositions will go head-to-head. Already we see Ultra Polito trying to zip in and out, finding some early damage with that Tracer, putting up a Pulse Bomb if possible, but you see Arlington not able to find it quite yet. Already Wichita State has taken up a position onto the field, and now UT Arlington has to do the very grim task of pushing up onto point. Not a whole lot of shielding to provide them that benefit. Because of that, Wichita State is going to be getting the first point flip. And Arlington taking some damage here. They don't have a whole lot of natural covers. They have to back up a lot farther to take advantage. Wichita State now leading into the kill onto Creets, as we see the Coalescence coming online, trying to keep their team alive, trying to keep the enemy down in the dumps just a little bit more. Sombra, we hear Dez trying to fire off that SMG, not able to find enough as Wichita State continues to tick.
But so far, really good job from Seed, able to get the Coalescence coming through so early into the fight. And yeah, it's only 30% for the side of Wichita, but a big opportunity for them to try to build it up. The biggest challenge that they're going to have is that EMP is about to be ready by Des. He has to make something happen for his team. If he's able to get this EMP into the tanks, that would be ideal situation to directly counter the Brawl style that we see from them.
Execution taking an early hack at Tomato Lord, getting a bit bold. They're not quite able to roll back into their team because of this. We're seeing UT Arlington invest a couple of ultimates that aren't necessarily paying off. The Pulse Bomb, the EMP, none of them really finding anything, and Wichita State still gets to hold on to most of their ults.
They're taking control of the situation again with already 55%. They're looking really good. That EMP did come through, but a few of the players from UTR, I think, were already down. And then Des was down with the Summer, and there was absolutely no way to get value out of this ultimate ability. So now the Nano would be the best opportunity for this team, going to one of the tanks, ideally going into that Sigma, creating a lot of damage if they want to pass this.
Already see Wichita State lining up again. The ult's highly in their favor. Everything going to be online. It starts off with a grab, and the Nano onto Tomato Lord. Not going to be able to do too much with it, as they do get locked down for a majority of it. However, they will be able to drop the mines on their Wichita. Not going to be able to get too comfy right up onto those mines, but the sound barrier is going to come out to keep everybody alive, courtesy of Foxicon. Now we see Wichita State really leaning in with that Coalescence, but a nice sleep onto Seed prevents it from getting too much value, as UTA starting to come back with a couple of kills of their own. Overtime has ticked down. Dez now looking to put the damage onto the Reinhardt, onto the Lucio. The Lucio falls, and so will the Reinhardt as the point flips for Arlington.
That's doing really good at the end, along with his other DPS, taking control of the situation. The Super just kept getting taken down over and over again, and this is something that they definitely need to watch out for. Having the Zenyatta means that everyone from the side of Wichita is going to try to counter him, and they only need to win one fight to take control of the point again and win this first sub-map, so they need to be very careful how they want to play here.
With the Super Juice trying to peek from way beyond, trying to get some damage with those Zenyatta orbs. Perhaps build up another Transcendence if possible. Wichita State did invest a lot of ultimates just to lose the point, so UT Arlington has the opportunity here, especially with that Gravitic Flux, especially with those dragons, to lock down a lot of members. Execution actually taking quite a bit of damage. Going to be the Kinetic Grasp coming online, or rather the Gravitic Flux coming online, and UT Arlington able to get in a lot of damage. The Dragons getting thrown in a little bit late, but UT Arlington will still have some ults in their bank.
Really good control of space from the side of UT Arlington. Getting to the 50% ideal situation for them. They need to win at least 2 more fights to make sure that they're able to win this point. And it's not going to be easy, but the Nano from Darko is going to be ready. Has to go into one of the tanks, creating a lot of space, maintaining the control that they have so far. Would be an ideal situation for them. But once again, we know that this support line for Wichita is really strong. They need to get their ultimate abilities fast.
A nice couple of charge shots from Super Juice will build up that Transcendence, and Seed going to be taken down early, meaning no Coalescence available for Wichita State. A great opening, and Ultra Polito doesn't even care about the Coalescence, just landing these body shots and headshots all around. Free body shots for everybody like it's Oprah right now.
3 kills for this player. This Hands are doing really good. We were talking about how important it is Hands so to be playing this collegiate scene, and it's just players are really able to pop off when we see this here. Now the last opportunity for both teams to try to take the advantage, to try to take control of the point in the minefield with what initiates this.
Dynamite thrown in the high noon, doesn't quite find anything, tries to get some damage, but it's going to be Dez's turn, finds Flexecution. That Reaper not going to be able to get tucked into point where these perhaps the most lethal. The grab goes out, but Super Juice has the Transcendence active as the grab goes out, not able to find a whole lot. Fluffy dropping the Earth Shatter, not again able to lock down too many members. Ultra Polito throwing in the Dragons just to clear out the point a little bit. The Gravitic Flux as well just to ensure things. UTA locks down everything to ensure that Wichita cannot touch.
And those Dragons also creating the space necessary to point. Ideally, what you want to use when it's so close, that 100% against that 99, and something had to happen. Really good job once again from this Hands of creating this space. And for the side of UT Arlington, they were struggling a lot at debating to try to initiate those picks, but once they had it going for them, they didn't let it go. This really good performance, and it seems like we're going to be seeing those supports coming through. That's Niara and also that Baptiste. They created a lot of damage. They're really good at shield break. So if we see this again coming through here in well, this is a very good situation for them to take control of the space as well.
UT Arlington stumbling a little bit initially, but able to turn it around and lock down the point. We'll see if they'll perhaps go for a little bit more direct route of the 0 to 100, or if Wichita State will put some points on their board here at Ilios. As we see Tomato Lord going on that Wrecking Ball, already getting wrapped around into Wichita State's lineup. Execution taking quite a bit of damage. That turret will be going out, and Execution taking a couple of arrows as well for their troubles. The turret will be brought down. And it looks like Wichita State now not having as comfortable a point positioning as they did first time around on Lighthouse. Tomato Lord making sure to displace as much as possible, gets stunned out, gets put a lot of damage, but doesn't quite get brought down, able to escape with a few points of health left. It's going to give UT Arlington enough time to wrap around, get the point captured, and in the meantime they even take down Seed, so not going to be able to build up that coalescence rather as much as they would want. UT Arlington now in a pretty good spot.
And as a Wrecking Ball, you just want to stay alive, you want to be destructive. That's exactly what Tomato Lord is doing over and over again. He went really low before, but he was able to stay alive to get that mega ideal situation for him. And the faster that he's able to be destructive and to get the ultimate ability, the better it's going to be to create the space necessary for his team that already has a 30% on the board.
Execution trying to throw down some turrets, but they're getting dealt with from the side of UT Arlington as fast as they go up. Although Wichita State now pushing in pretty aggressively. You see the coalescence coming through from Seed, doesn't find too much, and because of that, UT Arlington able to strike back with a transcendence of their own, able to get some kills. Dez goes in for the headshot on the Moira, doesn't quite have the damage, but turns right back around and cleans it up.
And Foxycon, she's able to get 2, but it wasn't quite enough for his team. And now this is a very tough spot. And 50% already for UT Arlington. Something has to happen. Foxycon was trying to do everything that she could into that Lucio, but now this Embarrass is going to come through. That was another opportunity for her team to take control here. And those tank abilities would be also ideal, but UT Arlington doesn't want to let it go just now.
They do not. They have that Gravitic Flux. They have the Minefield. They have a lot in their banks. Wichita State only coming up on the Sound Barrier and the Torbjorn Molten Core. We see Creets throwing in the Gravitic Flux, but gets flashed out, perhaps trying to get a little bit too wrapped around. Execution getting booped off by Tomato Lord with Dynamite. Sound Barrier can't save you in that instance. Now Tomato Lord looking to continue to press in some harassments. Gets locked down by the Zarya. The grab going out just to secure the 1 kill. A little bit risky, especially since UT Arlington has this man advantage. Dez backing up, trying to avoid that Zarya, trying to minimize the damage that comes through. Locking down anybody who might be coming in from the spawn. Wrecking Ball getting tracked down. Dez able to pop the Deadeye before they're able to break that line of sight. Now the Echo coming in, not going to be able to withstand the massive firepower coming in from these hit scans. Dez continuing to deliver, getting the kill with the flashbang. Overtime is going to tick down. Arlington looks good for this one, and in fact, they get it.
And just as you predicted, we were talking about getting from that 0 to 100 right away. That's exactly what UT Arlington did. They do take Ilias in a really good way. Once again, we were talking about how they were struggling at the beginning, but they were able to take control right after, and they didn't want to let the point go. This was a really good job as well from Tomato Lord, always creating the space necessary. He was going really low. He was creating the space necessary for his team and making sure as well that he was staying alive, which it's not definitely easy as a wrecking ball knowing that the entire enemy team is going to try to counter you, especially in those close spaces. But he was able to do exactly what you would expect from a wrecking ball, in addition to getting a few boops, a few kills that you love to see.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many times where I could hear you kind of gasping as Tomato Lord barely got out of there with, 50 HP, 20 HP. And that's really the kind of control you need with that tank line. I mean, UT Arlington, again, they took a little bit while to warm up, but luckily it didn't take them more than Lighthouse. And even then, once they got Lighthouse, they were still able to hold it to that full 100 completion. So far, they're setting a good pace for themselves, but Wichita not looking extremely weak in their own right.
Yeah, which that was looking really good at the beginning, actually. They just didn't know how to make that re-engagement happen, but they have a big opportunity. We know that control is a little bit tough for a few teams, and this might be just one of the cases, especially because Wichita, when we mention a few of their wins that they have, it's not necessarily always a 3-0. It's a more of a maybe they get a 3-1, a 3-2, and that just puts them, maybe they're not the best at certain maps. They could be controlled, so now they have the opportunity to try to make the comeback in the next map.
Well, the comeback certainly has a huge amount of potential here as we look ahead. It will again be that Volskaya, or excuse me, it will be that Numbani, and we're going to be heading into in just a little bit. But we talked about, or we see often, Dryad, about how dive can be very strong on Numbani. That first point, particularly where there's a lot of high ground. I'm curious to see how these teams kind of take that and work with it. Overall, I think that UT Arlington, playing the ball to the level that they have, are not going to have too much issue. But I kind of turn the scope over to Wichita, and it raises a few questions.
Yeah, definitely. And especially because, as we were talking in the beginning, these collegiate teams don't usually decide to go with what's meta in certain maps. And even when we see UT Arlington being really good at this wrecking ball, possibly being really good at this diva and having that synergy going for them, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to be playing this composition. So there is a lot of pressure if they want to counter and to play a little bit more aggressive. This would definitely be one of the opportunities, just because of the great amount of high grounds that we see in Numbani. If you're able to take control of the high ground, trying to take control of the point, this puts you in a really good spot to start moving the payload. So if we're going to be seeing the dive coming through, I would expect them more to be coming from UT Arlington.
We will exactly find out now, as we are about to be heading into the lovely lands of Numbani. A little bit of a nice rhino statue there. I did pass kindergarten. I know that that's a rhino. You can't fool me. But now we are looking at UT Arlington, who are going to be starting off on the defense here. And no surprise, we see the Wrecking Ball Sigma coming out, Dryad.
Yeah, the Wrecking Ball Sigma. And if I were to pick a favorite off tank to be played in this map, especially first point, I would definitely say Sigma, just because he's really good at taking control of those off angles, and also staying in the high ground that we were talking how important it is to do so. So Kratos is going to be in the Sigma, creating a lot of space, and he can hold the high ground to the right, to the left. He can decide. It seems like he's going to be on the off angle along with his DPS, and with the Zenyatta, which is ideally what you need to make sure they're able to stay alive. So a lot of poke damage is going to be coming through from UT Arlington, and Wichita might be having a hard time coming through.
We'll see exactly the route Wichita chooses to take. It looks like they are going to be going through the low ground, but we already see Tomato Lord perhaps trying to cause a little bit of disruption, distraction, and displacement coming through, accidentally knocking around that Sombra, perhaps mistaking or disrupting Wichita's plans even further. Flexecution has to translocate out, and that's going to make this push take perhaps just a bit longer. The Electrocution may have been going back to the spawns for a character change, but Tomato Lord gonna be chasing them down, meaning that Wichita State now down one member who cannot disable their opposing team. And Seed once again getting taken down. That Coalescence not gonna be able to be built up enough. UTA has a huge advantage here. They're able to push up the Ultra Polito, trying to leap towards that Lucio. Not quite able to find it, but Fox Icon will sure enough take themselves off the map.
Really good first fight. Now it seems like Creates and everyone else from their team are going to have to take the high ground again, take that position, the benefits, and anyone from defense so much. And that was a really good initial pick that we saw from them in the beginning, taking down Flexecution on the Sombra. That means that there's going to be more time for them to get that EMP, then they can better prepare that. They need to get Super Juice with that Transcendence so they can counter this ability once it comes through. But in the meantime, they will be also trying to contest the high ground from the other side, taking it very slow, poking a little bit of damage.
We do see this couple of swaps coming through from Wichita. We'll see if it finds them any benefit, but Fluffy immediately going to be taken down, not finding the benefit there for that player. And already Dez putting down a lot of damage through this high ground, able to just really oppress the side of Wichita State.
And they win the fight. It forces everyone all the way back from the side of the attackers. They know they need to stay alive and push together. I really like seeing this. They're not overcommitting, but they know they can't get value out of this now. They're just going to wait a few more seconds, but UT Arlington looking really good in the ultimate economy. Going to throw Bob into point when necessary, and that should delay the side of Wichita a little bit more.
Very importantly, Flux Execution only 50% of the way to their ultimate prior to that kill onto the Wrecking Ball. But now already almost 80%. We see Darko dropping down, dropping the amplification field, and it's going to be a little bit of dueling windows here. However, Seeds lasts a little bit longer as it was invested a little bit later. Bob now going to be onto the field for UT Arlington, just trying to cause a little bit of stall as well. Throw in some damage where it might be necessary. Wichita State not really getting the necessary kills, at least that is until Tomato Lord falls. Darko is soon to follow up. UT Arlington has the ultimates. They're going to invest it. They really do not want to let this first point go. It's going to take down the Orisa. Super Juice now giving their team just a little bit more reinforcement. Execution having to translocate out. Dynamite not quite able to land the shots onto the Zenyatta with the headshot, with the flashbang. It's going to cost him as now Super Juice looks to strike back. Dragon's going to be coming through from the Hanzo. UT Arlington trying to create a little bit of space here, but can't find much as Kelekil going to be looking to push forward with that Sigma, dealing the damage, and finally Wichita State have got themselves some breathing room.
Wichita takes control of the point, and that was a really good job from them. They forced the Transcendence to come through for Super Juice, and just like that, he didn't have the Transcendence for the EMP. They were able to get value out of it. No one was able to run away. Now, Wichita will be pushing this payload, and they're looking pretty comfortable with this double shield composition. They are going to be able to protect themselves a little bit better from all the poke damages coming through from UT Arlington. So, ideal situation for them. They just have to work on getting those ultimates. That initiation for now might be the Fox coming through.
We do see the mines dropped right onto cart. Wichita State has to back up just a little bit. Collect Gil gonna be brought dangerously low. No longer the Flux in question, but Tomato Lord striking back from beyond the grave with the mines. It's gonna be Fox Icon taken down. Des throwing in the dynamite, trying to get the damage in, but not necessary as Wichita backs out.
And so far, it's the second time where we see Wichita struggling a little bit at the beginning, but then taking control. Now it seems like it's the same scenario that we're going to see again. Because of the snipers, they're going to take a lot of control for the side of UT Arlington. They don't want to let go of this space, but Wichita will be pushing forward, and everyone from the side of UT Arlington is able to push back. That was a really good pick, though. Does get taken down, and no opportunity for Bob to come through just yet, and also just not having the poke damage, ideal situation for them.
We do see Ultra Polito throwing in the Dragons, creating a little bit of space onto the cart, but the window from Wichita State going to allow them to throw in a little bit more damage. You see Tomato Lord doing a little bit of a drive-by, caught out though. Foxycon able to use the shield bash with the Zenyatta to really lock down a lot of the damage there. Transcendence does come out from Super Juice, keeping their team alive through the kinetic breath, the gravitic flux rather. It doesn't really matter. Wichita State able to get the point delivered. Darko cleaned up despite trying to cling to the back of the cart.
3 minutes, 10 seconds remaining for Wichita to get to third, and the ultimate economy looking pretty good. EMP is about to be ready for full execution, and along with that rally, that should be enough to force everyone from UT Arlington all the way back. Just like that, EMP is going to be ready, but full execution needs to make sure he's staying alive for this fight.
See Dynamite also having that high noon might wait to just get set up behind a couple of barriers. It's gonna actually be Bob not getting canceled out by that EMP, so still able to deal the damage. The Bob from Des does get taken down. The flashbang onto Creets allows that Sigma Gravitic Flux to get interrupted, and now it's WSU Wichita who are looking pretty dominant so far. Ultra Polito gets taken down by a nice halt coming in from Fluffy but Deadly, and so far this is a great swing from Wichita compared to their first point. They're already throwing in a lot of damage now. The window being combined with the turbocharger, throwing in a heap of damage. Creets trying to contest, cannot. Wichita makes it to the third point with a lot of time in the bank.
So much damage coming through for this team, and that's exactly what they needed. They needed to play more aggressive. They made the changes necessary also to make this happen. They had the Orisa always putting damage. They also had the Sigma, and this poke damage was a ideal situation for this team. Now UT Arlington has a bigger challenge. They have to figure out how they want to go about this attack. We were usually expecting to see more of the dive coming through, and it was a weird situation for them, but if they're going to use it, it has to be in the attack now. If you're able to overwhelm them to take the high ground like we were mentioning before in the first point, that would put you in an ideal situation, and it's not going to be easy, but you want to get more time than Wichita did.
I mean, obviously you always want to be a little bit better spot than your opponents, but I mean, based on the resilience we saw of Wichita, It's going to be tough for Arlington here. Definitely not wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow. I mean, if they even want a chance of coming out victorious here, it's going to have to go into multiple rounds.
This is definitely one of the possibilities, and this is why these two teams were so even. Even when they were playing very different compositions, they were able to put up an even fight. And this is completely different also from obviously in Ilias, where it was just UT Arlington taking control of the fight over and over again. But now Wichita was definitely putting up a fight. They have a better opportunity here, and it might just be just the composition really benefiting them, creating the space necessary. And they're really good at taking space and the high ground that they need.
See if this high ground will pay off for them this time. Wichita State on that defense once again, sticking with the Sigma Orisa combination, and after the benefit it brought him, I don't know, I'd blame him. Has now UT Arlington looking to wrap around towards this high ground, immediately trying to go into it. Ultra Polito firing in a bunch of arrows and able to take down a Fluffy but deadly. A critical opportunity there for Wichita to be severely weakened. The Immortality Field coming out from Darko a bit early perhaps, but equally matched by Wichita's Immortality Field. And already we see UT Arlington pushing up aggressively onto their opponents. WSU trying their best to hold and fight back. In all honesty, Tomato Lord has to use that hold just to prevent themselves from being late killed, but it will be the kill from Flexecution to come through. We see the Sigma trying to come through and get some sort of damage, some sort of point contest, but it's all too late for the side of UT Arlington so far.
It seems like it, but they're still committing the ultimate abilities. Every single ability from Baptiste was used to try to stay alive, but he gets taken down right away. And it just doesn't seem like UT Arlington will be having this push.
And right now we are seeing a little bit of the regroup come through. Wichita State suffered a couple losses, but they're going to get their members back fast enough.
Yeah, it should be really good. And that was a really tough spot as well for defense, just because Fluffy but Deadly is supposed to be creating the space necessary, and holding the space, just like Arisa, is really good at. But the moment that this play was overwhelmed a little bit more from what we saw before, that puts him in a tough spot. He got taken down immediately, but luckily his team was able to hold for a little bit longer and make that comeback.
Super Juice putting in that damage as a good Zenyatta should, using those right clicks to really amplify the damage that can come through. Coalescence coming in from Super Juice catches a lot of the kinetic grasp, the gravitic flux coming through from the side of Wichita State. Now it's going to be the High Noon from Dynamite trying to just make anything happen. Nothing though, as that Immortality Field can't be dealt with, and with this now UT Arlington leading into these kills. Only a few members remaining. The Dragons coming out from Ultra Polito just to ensure that first point.
That's exactly what you needed to do. Taking this point is not easy, just because you need to make sure that everyone gets taken down so you get a better chance. As what they did. They were taking the high ground, they were contesting it. That transcendence from Super just keeping everyone alive was also so important. But now the bigger challenge is going to come through, as Flexecution does have that EMP once again. His team needs to capitalize out of this. It's not going to be easy, but like we mentioned, they want to take control of this corner ideally and not let UT Arlington take their space.
And early on, Flexecution dropping the EMP, but gets taken down. A nice little shot from Ultra Polito, although UT Arlington does lose their Zenyatta, so a little bit of damage amplification is gone for that team until Super Juice does come back. Although Supercharger now coming out from Fluffy, but definitely going to be giving Wichita State perhaps the shot in the arm that they need. That bomb needs to be dealt with, but that puts a lot of pressure on the shields coming in for Wichita State. They're suffering their losses, and they're committing a lot of ultimates here, and it doesn't seem to be getting them anything, Dryad.
Yeah, just like that, and that Immortality Field also coming through just in time, but now they're going to keep playing this aggressive. They don't want to give up this death. The damage keeps coming through.
We see and still Super Juice trying to duel it out, support versus support, but in the end it will be UT Arlington who supports seems to be just a little bit above.
And they finally take control of the situation. While everyone from the side of Wichita is able to regroup, they should be able to make it past this corner into the last fight territory for second part of Street. So very important to be on the lookout for. Also, the amplification matrix from Seed going to create a lot of space, ideally along with that rally. That's exactly why I need, knowing that Darko just used it before, not going to be having available. It's going to be really hard to counter this if you're on the side of UT Arlington.
Ultra Polito using those sonar arrows to some pretty good degree here. Wichita State trying to hold this high ground. Gonna be Creates, who does throw in the gravitic flux. Doesn't find too much, but it does lock down their opponents, making the defense have to get onto point just a little bit later. Bob goes out, but not able to do a whole lot as he gets knocked away from that cart, meaning the defense can now back up, or at least the DPS from the defense can back up just a little bit. UT Arlington have Dez on that high ground trying to rein in, but Dez gets forced back by some of the pressure coming in from these tanks. Ultra Polito firing those dragons in from afar. not quite able to find too much off the back end, but again, those dragons just used for a little bit of spacing, and that's exactly what UT Arlington will take advantage of.
The simplification matrix coming through over and over again. And one of the highlights from these two teams, it's really a matter who's able to get them first. And it's not even close because Darko just used his once again, but Seed is about to have it. So a lot of this fight coming through, and this is such a key into winning the fight, having the damage coming through and knowing that the enemy team is not going to be able to protect themselves to back-cap, especially in this last part of the map.
We see Wichita State now burning off a decent amount of time on the clock, but Dez might just be opening up this third point with these headshots coming in from Ash. A nice little dynamite to build themselves up a little bit more damage, but Bob's already on the board, and Wichita has to respond.
This is the last fight territory, and they might just have more time than the side of Wichita did. A lot of ultimate abilities coming through, those dragons creating space necessary, everyone pushing back.
The Dragons tried to create space, but the immortality field from Darko ensured that everybody could just deliver that cart neatly onto the second point. Only 27 seconds separates these teams, however.
This is how even I wanted to see this fight go. There was a lot of rushing coming through. Both of the teams really, really good at attacking, but at defending, you need to be a little bit more careful with the ultimate abilities that you have. Like we mentioned and like we see right now, the simplification matrix were so important to see over and over again, creating the damage and also pushing everyone back, because even when you can prepare in this streets where there's a lot of space, there's a lot of open space, it's usually really hard to protect yourself from the damage unless you have your main tank in the front, and even then the shield gets taken down and they're taking a lot of damage as well. So a lot of pressure these two teams are putting into each other. Once again, this is as even as I wanted it to be, and both of them doing really good on the attack, have over 2 minutes remaining to make something happen in this third round.
That will be Wichita to start on that attack. 30 seconds or so, again, separating these two teams. But the problem is going to come that Wichita took a lot longer to get started on their first point capture here, Dry. It took them until, I think it might have been, a minute or even into overtime that they got that first point captured, and that could be the crucial factor when it comes to these multiple round pushes.
Yeah, definitely. So they really need to win this fight early on, and it seems like they are ready to do so, as Flex Execution is going to be on the Junkrat, putting more damage, breaking the shield from UT Arlington, and making sure they're able to win this fight in one go, because they want to have enough time to push the payload.
We'll see exactly how Flexecution operates with the pipe bomb throwing maniac, but we look ahead, and Wichita State going to be looking to take high ground. They get set up rather quickly, and already the shield from Arlington taking quite a bit of damage, but not so much the players. However, on Wichita State's side, it's going to be quite a few members who are forced out to rotate. Tomato Lord manages to catch Flexecution, and now things are looking very good for UT Arlington. That Junkrat, a lot of their shield pressure has been relieved. Now they continue to rotate onto this high ground. They want to make sure that nobody is able to wrap around too aggressively on them.
And the fact that they take this high ground on the other side is really good. But now for the attackers, it's a really tough situation because UT Arlington is really expecting them to be there. They're going to have to regroup to wait just a few seconds, and this is not what they want when they only have 1 minute remaining.
Oh no, you can't let Flexecution wrap around you like that. It's a good way to open up a lot of damage. However, Arlington perhaps taking advantage of the fact that Flexecution looking just a little bit dead there. They may have been going for a hard reset, but it's actually going to be the pause coming through.
Yeah, and with only 50 seconds remaining, this is not looking too good for the setup, which this means that we're going to be having one last fight happen for them to try to take the payload, try to start moving it into the streets phase. And so far, the defense that we saw from UT Arlington has been ideal, definitely making the changes necessary and adjusting to what they need to compare to what we saw in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, so far that is just such a brutal spot to have a pause, right? Not only are you, having a pause in between games, I'm just getting word that apparently there's 3 disconnects, so you're losing the ultimate charge of 3 players. You're losing the fight. You have to rush just now to get to the point to make any sort of progress, and you still have to get at least 1 tick to make anything count. That is such an unfortunate spot for, I believe it's Wichita State.
Yes, going to be Wichita, and like you mentioned, not an ideal situation, knowing, like we were mentioning, only 51 seconds remaining for them. So even if they try to make the comeback, they're not going to be having any ultimate ability to use for them. And only having 3, knowing that the defense has been farming those abilities, trying to build them, trying to put a lot of damage, is not going to be easy to make a comeback too.
That certainly won't. We will be getting these players' connections resolved here shortly, but we're going to be taking it to a quick break just to make sure that everything is tip-top for you folks. So be sure and stick around to conclude Nimbani. And just like that, folks, we are back, hopefully with 100% less connection issues. We are waiting for this pause to be resumed, but as we can already see, Wichita State has their entire roster back online and reconnected. Looks like Flexecution, Seed, and Foxycon all managed to keep their internet connections pretty stable compared to the other half of their team. But Dryad, right now, looking, Seed just used the amplification window. It's gonna be tough for Wichita State to come into this with no ultimates, especially against Darko's window.
Yeah, and especially because they got taken down right away. So last fight territory. The good thing about this though is that they will be able to recoup a little bit faster and have a last chance. And yeah, even when the ultimate abilities are not going to be available for Wichita, it's important to mention that UT Arlington doesn't even have that many to count on right now. That flux needs to be built by creates, and that's going to take a little bit more time than just one fight.
We see Wichita now trying to rotate onto this high ground once again, but they're going to have to be a little bit more concise with it, as this high ground's not going to be enough. They'll need to get somebody actively on point, which is going to be tough considering the dominance of the snipers coming in from UT Arlington. Ultra Polito throwing in the storm arrows, trying to get something, builds up the dragon, is now sure to be sending it onto point or across the bow shortly enough. We see now progress being ticked up for Wichita State. Amplification Matrix comes online. Both tanks taken down for Wichita State. Rest of their team soon to be cleaned up as well. Overtime gonna be burning down. That's gonna be Flexecution trying to dive for the point, but falling just short.
Dez getting just 2 kills, and also Bob helping so much as always. Just like that, the defense is able to hold, and Wichita not looking too strong to try to hold here, knowing that there's a lot of time remaining for UT Arlington to make something happen. 2 minutes 27 seconds. That means about 3 fights that they're going to be available, and the difference between these two teams so far is that, yeah, like you mentioned, Wichita usually struggles a little bit more at the beginning, and even when they're able to push the payload to move it forward, they will spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to make the initiation and those early picks. But UT Arlington was a team that so far they were able to really know how to engage. And if they're able to use it, their only one take is going to be needed to win this map.
We will only need that one tick. The question is going to now be, can Wichita have as good a defense as Arlington, or perhaps a little bit better, considering it'll need to be for a longer time bank, perhaps one fight more. But UT Arlington in a very advantageous spot right now, Dryad.
Yeah, like we mentioned, and I'm curious to see what of this heroes they're going to maintain if they go with this recent Sigma. They have a lot of protection with the shields. That means they want to take the high ground and know that they can win this fight coming through, especially just because for the set of Wichita on the defense, even though Dynamite is able to get a few picks, and he's really good mechanically with the McCree, it's not as good to break the shields as we have the composition for UT Arlington. We're going to have the Zenyatta, the Baptiste, the Ash, also the Hanzo especially, and Sigma, everyone available to break the shield and just push forward.
We'll see if UT Arlington can use those tools to sharpen their kits a little bit here, already taking up onto that high ground. But Wichita State looks to contest them right immediately, face to face. Tomato Lord taking a bunch of damage, and UT Arlington suffering the loss of Dez. That's certainly going to put the hurt on them. Tomato Lord no longer able to provide a shield. Now going to be up to Wichita State whether they want to push up. It's going to be Kellikiel trying to, but just going to be backing off if they can't find too much.
They have to force themselves to go back to regroup as soon as possible if they want to have another opportunity, which they still do. But it was a really good job from Flexecution, all the way in the back, excellent positioning, knowing that he wasn't going to get picked right at the beginning, and able to get those headshots, just knowing how the positioning should work for that hero.
We see Wichita continuing to throw down damage into this hallway, knowing that Arlington going to keep trying to opt into this higher ground area. An early immortality field coming out from Wichita State. It does save Seed's life, however, so Purchase already found UT Arlington throwing in an immortality field of their own. Now it's going to be the amplification field coming out from both sides. Dez taken down as they try to peek out with that dynamite. Perhaps getting a little too cocky there. UT Arlington now going to be suffering a few more losses as the kinetic grasp, gravitic flux coming through from Kellikiel, trying to get the damage in. They are at least locked down Arlington. They are able to find a little bit of dissuadance towards their opponent.
The less time remaining, the more opportunities for you to see a draw happening in this map is definitely one of the possibilities. And once again, UT Arlington has a challenge to how many able to make it through. We're talking about the shield break, but they're still not able to capitalize on the pace that they're able to get.
We see UTA really trying to push up here. This is looking like close to last fight territory creeps. So close to the gravitic flux coming online. looking like they're peeking out, seeing if they can find any opportunity for it. Seed gets taken down, no immortality field, and now the Dragon's going to be cutting off a lot more of UT Arlington, as now Wichita State looking to lean in, push ahead, especially with that Sigma coming through. Creed's able to get the Gravitic Flux kill on the 2, and it's looking like UT Arlington may just have the manpower to break through this first tick. In fact, they will, and now they are up 2-0, but I would say so far a pretty competitive 2-0.
Yeah, that was really good, especially from the defense, knowing how to take the advantage every single time, until it just unfortunately wasn't enough for them. But UT Arlington taking the advantage into match point, and like you mentioned, it was looking really close on this third and fourth round, where there was a lot of damage coming through. Like we mentioned, that Baptiste getting killed, Seed falling from the side of Wichita was what enabled UT Arlington to press W. UT knew that they weren't going to have as much heals as they wanted to, and they could definitely win there.
Yeah, so far looking very, very good here. I mean, even for Wichita State, there were moments where that defense was looking very, very solid for them. They weren't quite out of the weeds just yet. But again, if it was a 2 minutes versus 2 minutes defense, that could have very easily gone Wichita's way, or I guess the draw's way. But it just shows how crucial those 27, 29 seconds really were in favor of UT Arlington. Overall, I think Wichita State definitely has their work cut out for them, and they're going to have to work towards a reverse sweep now, Dryad.
And a reverse sweep is definitely not easy, but one of the possibilities, especially for Wichita, where every single map that we see them, they look a little bit closer to try to make that comeback. So it might be the next map what they need to take the victory and to get a few more wins in their pocket.
Next map is exactly what we will be seeing on the other side of this break, folks. So don't wait, don't miss it. We will be back after a short moment. Welcome back, everyone, as now we step into Volskaya and apparently a very elegant bedroom. As now it is UT Arlington up 2-0 and what might potentially be the last match, or the last map of this match up. Waltham and Dryad back at it again. And UT Arlington now going to be starting off on the defense, Dryad.
Yeah, wait, this is a really pretty room. I never really stopped to notice it. Definitely one of the highlights I never really stopped to. I never really go into this room. I don't know if who does in Volskaya, but definitely a lot of details in Overwatch that we didn't notice. This is definitely being one of them. Wow, I'm like impressed.
Yeah, very. More impressive is that none of these buildings have doors. That is some neighborhood trust that you're not just gonna have someone pop into your house. But either way, it's gonna be Wichita State looking to pop right onto point, and these gates opening up as immediately as you like. Flexecution gonna be going in on the Torbjorn, it seems. We'll see if that actually sticks through, creating those multiple angles of attack. Certainly has some validity there, Des, on that Ashe. Able to get a lot of damage in with that dynamite. The tick damage we can already hear, bringing them closer and closer towards initiating Bob Protocol. As now it's going to be UT Arlington continuing to just throw in some shield damage. Wichita State has to be very careful around these windows. Less likely that she'll get picked off, but still a little bit of a potential. The halt coming through with the accretion. Lefty but deadly. Barely able to walk away there, get healed up by their supports. And now Wichita State trying to come out, but Dynamite taking a step too far, gets caught out by Ultra Polito. Some excellent response there from UT Arlington. And increased onto Ultra Polito, stops the arrows for just a second, but it's not going to be too much to buy Wichita State enough space.
They will be taking this high ground here now. The real challenge is how you want to get a few picks. It's going to be essential. Was going to be Ultra Polito getting the first initiation. Once again, the amplification matrix coming through, creating more damage. But everyone is able to back cap. So far for UT Arlington, everyone's trying to stay alive, waiting for their supports to come back.
Interestingly enough, Wichita State doesn't use that opportunity to go directly onto point, instead just waiting, perhaps hoping that UT Arlington will peak once the window is still active. But it's going to be the full reset now coming through from Wichita as UT Arlington successfully hold for a minute and a half.
Yeah, and everyone has to reset as soon as possible. They know how important this is. 2 minutes and 27 seconds remaining for this side of the attackers to try to make something happen. And in the meantime, once again, that high ground advantage being so important. The Hansel also getting those picks at the beginning and being able to make the rotation that we was mentioning so important here in Volskaya. It's what's benefiting the defense so much here.
And already Ultra Polito paying off in droves, as this is the second time we've seen them get an early kill. I'm onto Seed. Not going to be able to build up that amplification window this time around. We do hear Flexecution throwing down some turrets, perhaps trying to allow more angles of attack. But UT Arlington really utilizing this Hanzo to some great effect.
Yeah, and a lot of challenge that they have to really initiate to get a few picks, knowing that they're in the low ground and Ultra Polito is going to be into the high ground, knowing that the Dragons are going to be available, will put and create more space for his team to try to make something happen here. They want to consume as much as possible.
Ultra Polito going to be waiting for the team to wrap up onto that high ground, perhaps to drop the Dragons. Crouching right behind the boxes, able to create a lot of space. Dez absolutely capitalizing on everybody who's forced to rush out of the doorway. Wichita State getting picked apart. It's only going to be Fluffy and Dynamite who are able to walk away into the pit.
And yet another reset that we see happening from the side of Wichita. I do like seeing this again. And this is something that a lot of teams struggle with, just knowing when you have to reset, to make a full reset and go again. But for Wichita, this is not one of the questions, and they're going to have a lot of ultimate abilities coming through. That supercharger along with the flux would be more than enough for them to initiate, but there's only 1 minute remaining. They have to make it happen now. They need to make sure that they're taking down Bob once it comes to for death.
We'll see UT Arlington again with a surplus of ultimates. They're going to be throwing in the turbocharger, but Dez taken down early means that Bob's not going to be on the field, at least not if Wichita State has anything to say about it. It's going to be the Gravitic Flux coming in, who's responding with a Transcendence, keeping everybody alive as soon as they hit ground. Now we're seeing Wichita State try to lean in. They're throwing in the Amplification Matrix, making the tank presence on point. A little bit more deadly for UT Arlington. And we're going to have to be resolved in just a little bit here. The Immortality Field tries to come out for Wichita State, keep them alive through the Gravitic Flux of UT Arlington. And now we'll see if it finds anything. Dynamite throwing in the high noon, but Dez able to take them down with Bob. Despite losing Dez early on, not being able to use that Bob, UTA has struck back.
And it doesn't seem like there's anything else they can do. That's Nieta trying to stay alive, but it's going to be too late for the side of Wichita to try to make something happen here. This is a full hold happening for UT Arlington.
As now we look ahead, UT Arlington in a very good spot, and Wichita State in a pretty uncomfortable one. This looks quite a bit different than what we saw in Nombani Dryad.
They're looking very, very different. And Wichita definitely just struggling to try to make those initiations. They waited a lot. And even though they were making those resets happen quickly, making the comeback and taking the Haggard and West was taking them a lot of time and more time that they really needed to try to make something happen here. Once you are on the side of the defense first and you're able to full hold the enemy team, that's also going to give you a huge confident boost coming into the attacking side. So for UT Arlington, this looking very, very beneficial. They just need to get some initial picks, ideally on the hands of Des. That did really good, especially throwing that ball right at the end, knowing that if he was going to use it too early, there was everyone from the side of Wichita was going to take it down immediately. So he used it just in time to get a few picks and to put enough pressure for Wichita to not make something happen. A lot of pressure that he has now to really get those picks at the beginning, take the point here, take the win, not only on the map, but the entire match.
Definitely some excellent play coming through. Now it's on to UT Arlington. A simple, straightforward task, although easy, might not necessarily remain to be seen, as they just have to get the one tick on that first point. Wichita State on this defense. Again, going with those double snipers. Long range damage. This allows Wichita State to keep the battle at an arm's distance as well. They do have the double shields coming online. Very similar compositions. Foxycon and Super Juice going to be the real difference here. The Mercy versus the Zen. As we see Flexecution throwing in some arrows, trying to just perhaps find out anybody, trying to pull a little bit of Ultra Polito themselves, get some early kills. Polito sending out the sonar arrow, doesn't really do a whole lot of scouting with it. And Wichita State able to make the rotations and wear down the shields of UT Arlington. The Halt's coming through. Ultra Polito, though, has the leap to get out of harm's way. No, we're seeing UT Arlington kind of cornered or cordoned off into this small building, small upper garage area. A Halt coming through from UT Arlington doesn't net too much when combined with the accretion from Creeps. All right, Flexecution able to start off this fight with a headshot onto Super Juice. Zenyatta no longer able to build up that Transcendence. Healing advantage is up for Wichita, but with the sniper battle going as it is, might not come into too much effect here, especially with Flexecution getting taken down. However, this is where we start to see the Mercy come a little bit more into play as Foxycon able to bring the res into effect. Flexecution brought back into the fray. Dynamite has to take a little bit of a knee, but Flexecution take it out of the fight as quickly as they were brought in. Now it's Calgary trying to throw in some orbs, get the damage, but it looks like UTA already putting in quite the damage as well as the amplification window.
They do get the picks now. They will be jumping into point. It seems like for the side of Wichita, the recontest might just not happen. Everyone trying to stay alive, but unfortunately, it's just way too late for them. UT Arlington takes the series 3-0.
Takes the series 3-0, but with a decent coming from Wichita State. Not necessarily as much on Volskaya, but what we saw in Nombani, what we saw a little bit on Ilios, definitely put up a little bit of a showing that this might be one of the better teams to watch out for. I mean, it certainly seems like they're, I guess, 4-2 a record right now would certainly be well deserved.
Yeah, and to be fair, when we're looking at these two teams going against each other, we had to recognize that Wichita had some up and downs in the table in this 5 weeks, 6 weeks now that we've had here of EGF official. But for UT Arlington, they've had those 3-0s happening over and over again. It's the same case that we saw with Maris against St. Peter's, the same sort of situation where there's this really strong teams. And I'm just excited to see that matchup from the 4 teams that we just saw before, seeing Maris and ET Arlington going against each other might be a little more even. But for us, we still have another match going on.
Now we certainly do have another match. That's going to be Fairfield versus Siena. That will be up in a little bit. But before we conclude with UT Arlington versus Wichita, we will be having a little bit of an exit interview here with one of the players from UT Arlington. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss it. Hello and welcome back, everybody. As mentioned, as promised to you, sweet folks at home, we have a little bit of an interview here with one of the members of Team Arlington, or UT Arlington, if you prefer. It's going to be Tomato Lord. So, Tomato Lord, hello, welcome, congratulations.
Hello, thank you.
Now, we have a few questions here for you. Now, I want to start off because, you guys started off in a pretty good spot on Ilios. We saw you play a little bit of the wrecking ball there, and it seemed to me like your coordination with your Sigma was really well in tuned. Was that something that's a little bit more intrinsic on your end, or something that your team worked on as a whole?
I play wrecking ball quite a bit for the team and just in comp too. So it's something I'm definitely used to working with my other tanks. But we've definitely practiced that comp quite a bit, so we've definitely built up that synergy.
Hmm.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about how your team decides to play different compositions, not only depending on the map, but to counter the enemy team. The closest map that we saw from you when also going at one Twitch tab was Numbani, where for the first part, at least for the first two rounds, it was looking very even. Is this something that you discuss into going to the third, fourth round into maybe we have to play something else, or is your team confident on your picks?
Yeah, no, we just kind of pick based on what they're playing. I think, especially on Numbani, we started out with me playing ball, but since they had the Sombra and they were just hacking me a lot, it just made more sense to swap to the full double shield comp. And from there, we just kind of mirrored, and I think that worked a lot better.
Yeah, and one of the things you highlight is that your team has been doing really good so far, has been really dominant going against other teams. So tell me what's maybe one match that you're looking forward to that you think is going to be more of a challenge for your university?
Um, well, I'm not too sure. I've heard tale that Marist is pretty good. I'm not sure when we're going to be playing them, but that seems like one that to look forward to, maybe.
Definitely know I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for Marist versus UT Arlington here in the future. Not sure whether it's near or distant, but either way, I think that is about all we have for you, Tomato Lord. We want to thank you for coming on, answering a few of our questions. And as always, we like to give you the opportunity to give any shout outs.
Just shout out to my team for just keep going, and we work hard, and just nice job, everyone.
All right. Well, you heard it here, folks, from the Tomato themselves, the Tomato Lord, if you prefer. Tomato Lord, once again, thank you very much and congratulations of your win over Wichita.
Thank you.
Now, with that, Dryad, we close the chapter on UT Arlington versus Wichita State. But as I believe you mentioned a little bit earlier, we do still have one more game on the record here tonight. It's going to be Fairfield University versus Siena College. Very similar score lines for both these teams as well. So I'm going to be looking forward to it. You folks at home should as well. So stick around. We'll be back after the break.